Do you agree with Jerry that Dak is worth top-tier quarterback money?
Well, first of all, I think it's kind of funny that the owner, who has the ability to pay him top-tier quarterback money, is saying he's top-tier. Well, just pay him then. If you feel that way, just pay him. I think when you look at the stats, he's not top tier. He's middle of the pack in yards and touchdowns. He's a middle of the pack quarterback. I think the one big stat that you can look at that kind of points to this is his attempts per game. He only throws 33 passes per game. That's really 22nd in the league. That's because they're a running team. That's because they're built around the run. Now, if you want Dak to be a top-tier, top-5 type of quarterback, then he needs probably 800 to 1,000 more yards. He needs 10 to 12 more touchdowns per season. The only way for that to happen is him not to be centered around Ezekiel Elliott. And so it kind of can go in line. If you don't pay Zeke and he's not there, then your Dak is going to have to step up. That's when Kellen Moore, the quarterback coach, is going to have to step up and show them he could be the top type of quarterback. He's going to have to get his attempts up, his yards up, as well as his touchdowns to be a top-5 quarterback, because right now he's not.
Yeah, I think that under Kellen Moore being a new offensive coordinator, they will expand the offense and give Dak more of an opportunity to impact the game and impact winning. Yeah, he's not a top-tier quarterback, but I also don't care that he's not a top-tier quarterback. You need Dak Prescott if you're going to compete for a championship. The nature of the quarterback position, it's more important than any other position in football, maybe the most important position in all of team sports. So, I mean, when you start looking at the Dak Prescott situation, I think Dak has maximum leverage, and thereby Jerry Jones knows he's going to have to pay Dak top of the market money. The report came out last week that Dak Prescott wasn't going to take a penny less than what Carson Wentz got from Howie Roseman and the Eagles on a long-term contract extension. So you got to think it's going to be north of $32 million a year. Russell Wilson is the highest paid now at $35 million a year. So I'm thinking that Dak is probably going to fall somewhere within that range. But if you're Jerry Jones, I mean, whether you pay him now or you pay him later, you're still going to pay him that $32, $33, $34 million a year. That's going to happen. The only thing I will say is this. You better go ahead and get that deal done before the likes of Pat Mahomes and others start getting paid, because the number is only going to go up.
I think there's really two parts to this question. Is he, or two ways to answer it. Is he a top-tier quarterback, which you talked about, and does he deserve top-tier money? Because we know, look, I'm a Dak fan. I think he's a winner. I think he's a leader. I think he's got strong character. I think he's got all the intangibles that I want, that I feel like I see somewhat in a Russell Wilson and guys like that. So I like him, but as you said, I don't think he's a top-tier quarterback, because with those guys, I think it's somebody that can carry my team if I don't have the greatest receiving core, if I don't have the greatest running back or offensive line. That's what a top-tier quarterback can do. However, it's not always about, are you top tier to get paid top tier? Matthew Stafford was never top tier. Kirk Cousins was never top tier, but they got top tier money. So in that regard, I do think that Dak deserves top tier money. And to your point, they should pay him now, because if he has the type of season you hope he has, then next summer, that number is going to be much higher. So go ahead, pay him now. As time goes on, other quarterbacks will pass him up financially, and you'll be satisfied with the money you gave him.
I was in a contract negotiation throughout my career, and I was in camp, and basically I wasn't talking to the media. And then one day I was like, you know what, I'm tired of this. I'm going to go talk to the media. And I went there and I said, listen, when you look at the numbers, I may not be one of the top rushers in the league, may not be one of the top receivers, may not be one of the best running backs in the league, but I do all those things good for this team. And for this team, I'm a great fit. When you talk about the Dallas Cowboys, Dak is a great fit for that football team. Dak is in a great position for that team. You talked about the leadership. He builds character. He's a stand-up individual. He's a face of the franchise. And the other part of that is the cost of losing him. Do you have a couple more years to try to develop another quarterback? Do you have the time to say, okay, Dak's not our guy. Can we go get someone else? There's just not a bunch of guys running around on the streets that could come in and be the face of your franchise and lead your football team. Dak is a guy that's there. He wants more money, but he's in camp. He's out there performing, and I think he's willing to get better. He knows he has to get better to be considered, as far as stats go, a top-tier quarterback, and he's in camp trying to do that. To me, you reward that.
And look, we've heard this number before. Since he's been in the league, 32-16, that's the second best record behind Tom Brady. Remember, that's with Ezekiel Elliott missing 6 games. That's with Tyron Smith missing some games. So despite all that, he still wins. And it's not as simple as, oh, the Cowboys have a ton of talent, because before he got there, when Tony Romo was healthy, what were they, 3-1? Right. And without him, they were 1-11. So you couldn't just throw anybody in that at quarterback and win in Dallas. He showed that he's got the intangibles.
You had talked about the change in an offensive coordinator. How much does that affect him or what they're trying to do offensively as they still wait on Ezekiel Elliott in some of the moving parts with that whole situation?
Well, I think there will be some new wrinkles incorporated within the offense, but keep in mind, Jason Garrett is their head coach. His background is on the offensive side of the ball. He was the former backup quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys during his playing career. So I think the offense, in terms of the philosophy, the overall philosophy and the concepts that they're executing, will be relatively the same. But in terms of the sequencing of plays and how Kellen Moore calls the game, that'll be the difference as they transition from Linehan to Kellen Moore as OC. But back to a point that you made, B-Dub, when you start talking about the options that the Dallas Cowboys have beyond Dak Prescott at quarterback, there really aren't a lot of options that are going to be available. And the reality is, in this league, you don't trade for franchise quarterbacks. You don't sign franchise quarterbacks in free agency. You got to draft that guy. And if you think you got that guy, then you got to make sure you hold on to him. We know that when it comes to the pay scale in the NFL, it's typically not based on where a guy ranks in terms of the tiers. It's who's the next guy to get paid, who has the most leverage. Chris, you cited Kirk Cousins. I think that's a great example. He was a guy on free agency for a team that was desperate to get a quarterback that could take that squad to the next level. The Minnesota Vikings paid him $84 million over 3 years, fully guaranteed. I mean, that's the economics of today's NFL, and that's the economics of the quarterback position. Dak Prescott is going to get his money. I think Jerry Jones understands that, and he's posturing right now. That's why he's making that statement that Dak is a top-tier quarterback.
But it's interesting that the way that Jerry makes that statement about Dak, but when he talks about Zeke, it's the total opposite. You know, you don't need a leading rusher to win a Super Bowl. Zeke, who I know he was
You're
joking
talking about
that,
the most valuable position at quarterback versus probably the most expendable position at running back. So that's the difference in terms
for some teams. Running back is expendable for some teams. The Cowboys, you
got him upset.
You talk about running back now. You talk,
expendable.
but if you take the Zeke away from the Cowboys, that changes your thought process of who Dak is.
But with that being said, Brian, they believe they have a title contending core with Dak, Zeke, and Cooper. Who should be the prior? Jerry keeps saying these are going to get done, the belief that all these contracts will get done. Who do you think should be the priority in order of how they get these contracts done?
Well, Cooper and Dak are in camp. So I kind of think they're closer to at least falling in line with the organization wants. And so, in Zeke being out, I think Dak actually wants to wait a little bit while longer to have some other quarterbacks to get paid, so that can bump up his pay scale just a bit. I think you can wait on Amari Cooper. The reason why I think it's important to have Zeke in there is because you mentioned about the games, the early season games. They may be simple and easy on paper for this football team, but if you lose those games, now first of all, you lose all leverage with Zeke, but you also lose the opportunity to potentially win the NFC East, get yourself a home field playoff game. That's important. Those are important things. And you can't go into a season saying, you know what, our quarterback has gotten better. Why wouldn't you want to have the best running back in the game behind your quarterback? Why wouldn't you want to have that support system? When you go into a fight, you don't bring all your weapons. You don't leave all your weapons at home. You bring everything that you have. If a football team wants to win, they want their best players, the most talented guys on the field at the same time. And the windows are very, very small. For Zeke, in this football team, the window is small.
I asked these guys this earlier. Do you believe if Ezekiel comes back and he's on the field, do you believe that the Cowboys can win a Super Bowl this season?
Well, I think it's two things that have to happen. Obviously, you have to have Zeke back. That's going to be a big part of it. But Dak does have to step up. He can't be middle-of-the-pack type of quarterback. He needs to be a top 10 type of quarterback. He needs to be able to score the ball in the red zone, accurate passes. The one thing that you said that Dak mentioned in all of his press conferences is that things have slowed down for him. Now he understands what the defense is giving him and how to get the ball to him. Who the ball should go to is cover 2 on the right, man-to-man on the left. I'm going to throw the ball to the man-to-man side. He understands that, and he can deliver the football. He has to improve as a quarterback. If he does, you add to that a very good defense and a run game that can get you through the cold months. I think this team has an opportunity. They have a chance, just like everyone else.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.